Most people agree that Archaludon EX is a good card, seeing that it's beefy at 300 HP and can accelerate energy to itself along with other metal Pokemon. There's just one problem. It doesn't do nearly enough damage on its own. Because of this, it seems like there's a new way to play the deck just about every week, and they can get pretty complicated, like this one with the poison package. This deck uses Brute Bonnet and an Ancient Energy Booster Capsule to poison yourself and your opponent, and brings up a number of ways you can add additional damage. All of these cards help you get up to 290 damage with Archaladon, but that's just the thing, you have to have all the pieces to do this consistently. There are also some creative ways to make the deck work, by subbing in cards like the Scizor as a secondary attacker, or using cards from Journey Together, like this Hops Double that acts as a semi-boss's orders. The deck list that I've landed on after playing Archaludon EX is pretty straightforward, but it utilizes Relicanth, Munkidori, and Zacian. And to be honest, I want this deck to work so bad, but I feel like it's right on the edge of being actually good. And real quick, here's some footage of me beating the poison build with this deck, so clearly this one is better and I won't hear otherwise. It mainly attacks with Archaladon, but leans on the other Pokemon for support. For example, Relicanth has an ability that allows us to use Duraludon's Raging Hammer attack. Since Archaladon has so much HP, other Pokemon have trouble knocking it out in one hit. Raging Hammer will take any damage that's left over and add 80 to it, allowing you to hit those high numbers throughout the game. Munkidori also adds to this total 3 damage counters at a time, and it's the reason we've put in this calamitous snowy mountain as our stadium. For the parts of the game where you may not have any damage on your Pokemon yet, you can use this stadium to add a few damage counters to yourself, and then use Munkidori to send them off to your opponent. Zacian is really just here for Cornerstone Ogerpon, but can hit for 240 or add that last 30 damage to the bench when needed. One of the bigger matchups to look out for at the moment is Terrabox, and it has Pikachu EX. Pikachu can hit for 300 and knock us out in one go, so we've teched in this Rigid Band as a tool to bring that damage down to 270. Munkidori also helps put some damage on Pikachu so that you can get around that Resolute Heart ability and take it out in one hit. For our supporters, we have 4 Professor's Research and 3 Iono to help draw more cards and affect our opponent's hand. We have 3 Boss's Orders to gust up the ideal targets, and 2 Professor Turo to make sure we can pick up and recycle Archaladons before they get knocked out. Kieran and Black Belt's Training help to add 40 damage under the right conditions, which is just what this deck needs pretty often. I decided to go with Precious Trolley as our ace spec in this build because it's just so helpful in setting up so many decks. This deck sometimes uses a Scoop Up Cyclone, and I didn't find myself using it in most games, so the extra help in setting up several Duraludons and support Pokemon can't be overlooked. And we've reached that transition part of the video where I ask you for something. So if you take a look at that subscriber number, we are super close to 1,000. Thank you everybody for getting us this close to 1,000 subscribers, and if you're not subscribed, take a look, consider it. All right, thanks. And we'll start out against Raging Bolt here. So Raging Bolt seems like it's an up-and-coming deck at the moment. It seemed to dip a little bit for a while, and now it seems like it's back. I'm seeing it all over the leaderboards and all the time on TCG Live. So there's something going on with Raging Bolt. But we have a Duraludon in our active spot, and we have a Zacian EX in our hand. I think I'm going to put the Zacian EX down just in case they have a Cornerstone Ogerpon, and I also want to use this Ultra Ball to get to a Squawkabilly so we can Squawk and Seize and get a new hand. So it is kind of a bummer to see that we're going to lose 2 Boss's Orders and a Professor Turo, but hopefully we'll be able to Pal Pad back if we need one of those. Our opponent goes ahead with their Squawk and Seize to get a whole new hand. I would expect a Fan Rotom, but since they're putting down a Noctowl, I don't know that they're going to have a Fan Rotom. They might not be able to get to one, and they'll start drawing some energy as well. So I believe they Teal Danced for 1. We'll see if they want to attach another from hand, and they do, to their active. So they might want to attack with Teal Mask Ogerpon in their next attack if we can't do anything about it. So we're going to go ahead and I decided for a second if I wanted to put the Zacian down, and just in case there is a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, I want to make sure that's out, just in case we're not able to get back to it with a Night Stretcher too soon. Then we go ahead and use Squawkabilly here to get a fresh new hand. Unfortunately, we did pull a Pal Pad. We must have top decked that. So a bunch of those supporters are just gone now, which is a big bummer. We only had 1 Pal Pad, but we go ahead and Nest Ball for another Duraludon. And as long as we have a Duraludon on the bench, we're still able to do something. I do have a bit of a lack of energy right now, so I'm going to go ahead and Iono as our supporter for the turn. Unfortunately, that gives our opponent a fresh hand as well, but we're able to discard 1 energy. Ideally, we'd discard 1 more because Archaludon helps accelerate 2 from the discard pile. But because I'm not able to discard another one, and I don't know that I'll want to use Professor's Research on our next turn, I go ahead and attach from hand to this Duraludon, and I know if they knock me out, that'll go to the discard pile and I can use it. And if not, then I still have a metal energy in hand that I can attach on my next turn. So it's not looking like we're going to be able to attach this dark energy to our Munkidori yet, which is a bummer. But our opponent goes ahead and gets their Raging Bolt going. They have a Professor Seda here to attach 2 energy, draw some cards. They'll easily be able to retreat with all that energy on their Tailmask Ogerpon if they want to. They also had a Noctowl ready, or a Hoot Hoot ready to put a Noctowl on it and search up 2 cards. And they end up getting the Prime Catcher. So this could be the Zacian with the Prime Catcher when they move that Raging Bolt into the active. Not the biggest loss. I mean, either way, we were going to lose 2 prizes here, whether it's that Squawkabilly or the Zacian. And as long as they don't put a Cornerstone Ogerpon down, I'm okay with this. Again, it's not ideal to lose 2 prize cards so quickly, but they'll go ahead, 280 damage, knock it out, and get rid of all of their energy. So now we need to have a response. Again, we only have 1 metal energy in our discard pile, which is a bummer. We go ahead and get a Rigid Band, and I don't know that it does too much in this matchup, because for Raging Bolt to knock us out, they have to get 5 energy to do 350 damage, and then minus 30 is still 320. So the Rigid Band doesn't do too much, but might as well attach it since we have it. Maybe it would have been a better idea to put the Rigid Band on like the Fezandipiti in the future, now that I'm thinking about it. But we go ahead and put the Archaludon on our active. We accelerate the 1 energy from our discard pile onto the active. And then I could Professor's Research here to get a completely new hand, and I do. So maybe we can Night Stretcher that dark energy back. We have 2 in the deck. Go ahead and take a look and see what's in the deck. I could Pokégear right now, but I'm not able to use a supporter in this turn again since I already used Professor's Research. So if my opponent sees me Pokégear something into my hand, they might just Iono it away. But yeah, a little bit of a bummer to not be able to get a Snowy Calamitous Mountain down to get rid of their stadium. Put, 2 damage counters on myself and send it off to their Raging Bolt, because that would have been a knockout. But it depends if they retreat this Raging Bolt in this turn. They could Professor Turo it and pick it up if they wanted to. But if they leave that on the bench, at some point I can use Munkidori to knock it out. So not a complete loss there. We can look to take a 4 prize turn at some point. But yeah, they go ahead and put down another Hoot Hoot. Their Hoot Hoot and Noctowl are flowing so far in this game. And to be able to knock us out here, they're going to need 5 energy on the board. So they go ahead and Noctowl. Believe they already used Professor Seda to get these first 2 electric energy. So they're probably going to use something to get another, like if they have an Earthen Vessel, they can get a grass energy and a fighting energy out. And that'll give them 4, and then they just need 1 more. Find a way to get 1 more energy on the board. That might be a Crispin. I guess they didn't pull a Crispin out with that Noctowl. So we'll see if they're able to get that last energy. They go ahead and Teal Dance, draw a card. They have a huge hand with 9 cards in it so far. So I'm feeling like they're going to be able to get to it. I'll be able to set up another Archaludon as well. So it depends if they attack me with this Raging Bolt in the active or the one on the bench to see if I can knock it out. They go ahead and put Latias in, and that's going to be the switch to their other Raging Bolt, most likely. And there it is. So the fresh Raging Bolt comes in, they attach from hand, and they need 1 more energy to be able to knock us out. What they don't want to do is put a bunch of damage on us, because then we'll easily be able to use Raging Hammer. Since we have Relicanth on the bench, we'll be able to use Duraludon's move. And they just go ahead and pass, which is huge for them to miss a knockout in this turn. So we'll see what we can get to here. It doesn't do much good for us to evolve an Archaludon here because we have no energy. So luckily we have a Black Belt's Training in our hand, which is just enough to take out a Raging Bolt, and we go ahead and do so. So we take out the fresh Raging Bolt. We still have that option on the bench that just needs 20 more damage to be able to knock out with their other Raging Bolt. And we're able to live to our next turn. So that was huge that they weren't able to put damage on us and take us out in that previous turn. And we'll see what they can get to in this turn. We do get another Duraludon and an Archaladon out of the prize cards, which is great to set up yet another one if we need to Professor Turo this one in front of us. They go ahead and Deal Dance there to put down 1 energy. And then Professor Seda to put on 2 more energy, draw a couple cards. So in this turn, they're going to have no problem knocking us out. This Archaludon with the Rigid Band is going to be toast, but that should put more energy in the discard pile. We have an Archaladon in hand to be able to evolve our next one, so we just have to get to an energy in our next turn. We have Kieran as well. Kieran will do 30 damage to our opponent, or 30 extra damage, so we can do 250. We can take out the next Raging Bolt if we can find 1 more energy for our next Archaladon. So our opponent is going ahead and selecting which cards they want to discard. They leave 1 on the Raging Bolt in front of us. They don't think we have it like that. They don't think we can knock them out, so they're leaving 1 on the active. But we're going to see if we can get to that energy. We pull an Iono off the top deck, so that might be our way to get to another energy. We go ahead and evolve our Archaladon to attach 2 from our discard pile. But yeah, no way to get energy out of the deck. No Night Stretcher at the moment. We're going to go ahead and Ultra Ball, and since we are knocked out in our last turn, we're going to see if we can get a Fezandipiti and flip the script to draw 3 more cards. Because again, if we get an energy off of this, we can just slap down Kieran and take another knockout. We flip the script and we don't. We get a Calamitous Snowy Mountain, Professor's Research, and I didn't see what the last thing was, but I don't end up putting this Calamitous Snowy Mountain down at the moment because I don't want my opponent to take that Raging Bolt off of the bench. I want that to be an easy knockout. We're not going to be able to do that in this turn because we still need 1 more energy to attach from our hand to our Archaladon. We have to Iono, which I mean isn't the worst thing in the world. It knocks our opponent down to 2 cards, and we do end up getting the energy. It just means that we couldn't use that Kieran. So not the perfect play, but the one that works for now. And once again, we're not able to do quite enough damage. This is what I was talking about, where this deck feels a little bit clunky because you're so close in some areas. You know, if I'm able to put this Calamitous Snowy Mountain down and I already have a Dark Energy on that Munkidori, or if I put, you know, another energy somewhere else to put some damage on myself, then I can just send a couple damage counters to that benched Raging Bolt or to the one in front of me and knock it out. But I'm not able to get to it, so we're close. We're still able to take possibly a 4 prize knockout in a future turn. We just have to hope they miss. We're seeing Crispin being played here, which is great. That means they can't use a Professor Seda, which would have drawn them more cards. So they're able to get 2 energy there from that Crispin and Teal Dance with a grass energy. But so far they only have 3, and they're going to need 5 to knock us out. 4 energy will do 280 damage, so they need to get to that 350 mark to be able to knock out this Archaladon. And with 3 cards in hand, it'll be tough. Seeing that one of them is not going to be Professor Seda, they attach from hand to that Koraidon. That's only 4 energy, and they just go ahead and Burst Roar to get a completely new hand. So with Archaladon, you can see it's tough. It's tough to knock out. They're always going to need 5 energy to be able to take a 1-hit knockout. But we go ahead and use our Calamitous Snowy Mountain because I know if they get rid of that Raging Bolt at this point, they won't have an attacker really for the next turn. And I can just put this Munkidori damage in front of us and see if they promote a 2-prizer or something. But yeah, at that point, I needed to put the Calamitous Snowy Mountain down either way to be able to do this damage. So they did have the opportunity to take this Raging Bolt off their bench, and they didn't, allowing us to take 2 prize cards there with Munkidori. And then it's an easy cleanup in our last attack for a big last turn. So a little clunky again, but we got there in the end. And our next game is going to be against Zoroark, which is a newer deck from Journey Together, and I don't know if we'll see it too much competitively. I think that's TBD if it's going to be a competitive deck, but it seems like a lot of people are using it on TCG Live and they're having fun with it. It's got plenty of options for attacking, and unfortunately we had to start with this Zacian, this Hop Zacian in front of us. It was the only basic Pokemon we had, and he is in danger. I believe Darumaka here will do twice as much damage to it, being a fire Pokemon, so I've kind of accepted pretty immediately, if I can't get this retreated, that it's going to be knocked out, and sometimes it just be like that. I'm hoping, I don't think in this deck I need to worry about Cornerstone Ogerpon too much, so if I lose this Zacian, it's not a big deal. We go ahead and put the Stadium down because I know I'm about to Squawk and seize this hand away. We use this Ultra Ball to get there. Go ahead and put Squawkabilly down, and then we just Professor's Research for a fresh new hand, which we get another Duraludon from, which is great, and one more Nest Ball. So I believe we get our Munkidori with this one in case we're able to get to a Dark Energy in this game a little bit earlier, which would be nice. Then I'm looking at my hand here, and I'm wondering if I even want to Squawkabilly this hand away, and decide not to, because we have 2 Archaladons in our hand. I can't remember if I was able to discard too many energy in that last hand. I'm going to look here. Just 1. So I think that might come back to bite us. Maybe the right move would have been to Squawkabilly this hand away, and then just try and get one of those Archaladon back. I think I was just coming off a game, actually, where I ran out of Archaladon, and I was thinking if I discarded 2 in a Night Stretcher here, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to an Archaladon. So I think that's why I decided not to Squawkabilly, but it is a little rough in terms of trying to get energy. We get Ionoed, which is fine. I'm pretty happy actually about getting 6 new cards here. We go ahead and get 2 Dark Energy, and then 1 Metal. If I can get 1 more, Metal Energy in my hand and discard 1, I'm sitting pretty nice for Duraludon here, but we'll see if we're able to do that as our opponent goes ahead and sets up. They got 2 energy on that bench Zoroark. So it looks like they might be able to do a switch here pretty soon. Get the Reshiram on the bench. And there it is. Go ahead and switch Zoroark in. And they're going to do 117 damage. So with this Munkidori, I can send some of that away. So we put down this Duraludon, so we have a 3rd one on the bench in case we lose one. And then I'm trying to decide what I want to do next, because I know I don't have enough Metal Energy in the discard pile yet, and we have an Ultra Ball in our hand to get rid of another one. And I'm thinking about slow playing it a little bit, because I think this Zacian, or this Hop Zacian, is pretty much done for either way. I know one of their attacks does 90 damage to the bench, so even if I take some damage counters off with Munkidori, this Zacian is getting knocked out either way. So I'm thinking if I slow play it a little bit, I might just be able to get a little bit better of a setup. Go ahead and evolve this Archaladon on the bench so we can get some energy out of the discard pile, but again, that's not enough to attack quite yet. We still have our attachment from hand, and we learned from our previous game we got to get this Dark Energy on Munkidori. So again, a Crispin might be a good idea for that. I see they have 1 card in their hand, so I almost Iono for something new and decide to just chill. Just go ahead, start building up energy on both of their Zoroarks to bring them a little bit closer to the range where I can knock them out. And I didn't even realize this till right now watching this game back, that I didn't use Munkidori there. I put the Dark Energy on Munkidori. I could have sent another 30 damage over to their benched, what will be a Zoroark EX, or Zorua right now. So that would have been the right move there, would be to use Munkidori, put some damage on Zorua, so that they both have 60 damage on them, and they're both reachable by Archaladon's attack. But missed doing that, so we're going to have to add some more damage with Munkidori in the future in that way. And our opponent goes ahead. I think they just put that Fezandipiti down, which could also be a target for Archaladon, which is nice. That 210 HP is tucked nicely underneath our 220 attack that we can do. And we'll see how they want to take out this Zacian. Go ahead and use Night Joker. They weren't able to evolve that Darumaka, so they actually don't have access to the attack that does 90 to the active and the bench. And they just go ahead and knock out that Hop Zacian, as we were kind of expecting. And now we just need to get 1 more energy on this Archaladon, and we could be in an okay spot. They go ahead and put that 3rd energy on it, which I'm not too worried about. But we really don't have a choice here besides to Iono. We'll go ahead and put this Archaladon down to get the 1 energy out of the discard pile that we had left in there. That's enough to get Archaladon going. And then we'll go ahead and Iono. Brings them from 4 cards to 4 different cards, and we get 6. We did take a knockout in our last turn. We just drew straight into Fezandipiti. Got Precious Trolley, and it's a little late for Precious Trolley. Would have been nice earlier, but also it didn't seem like we really needed it in this game. And this is nice that we have Black Belt's training as well to do a little bit extra damage if needed. I go ahead and attach for turn to this Duraludon, so we're set up for a future attack. I believe I just go ahead and take out the active here for 220. It'd be really nice to keep this hand. I'm sure our opponent's going to want to knock our hand down a little bit with Iono if they have the chance. But we get a Duraludon and an Earthen Vessel out of the prize cards. They go ahead and evolve their other Zoroark that should have 60 damage on it, but it doesn't because I didn't use Munkidori. And they get their own Munkidori out. So that could be a problem if they're not going to allow this 30 damage to sit on their own Zoroark, and it can get them a little bit closer to a knockout. So that can be a little worrying. As long as I use my attack with Archaludon EX, I don't have a weakness to fire. So as long as I don't miss an attack, that shouldn't be too big of an issue. But we'll see if my opponent can get the 2 energy they need here. I believe N's PP up card only attaches dark energy to the bench, or is it to the active? We might find out here if they grab one. But they go ahead and get Arvin. And we'll see in which way they want to do this. There's the N's PP up. They also grabbed a Defiance Band, and we're tied in prize cards luckily, but they go ahead and move to the bench so they can use that N's PP up, get their 2 energies attached there, and pass to us. So they weren't able to get to an attack on that, but if we can go ahead and boss's orders one of their Pokemon here, that would be ideal. That means we can't boss's orders and Kieran both at the same time, or Black Belt's training, which is actually what we need to do, which is a bummer. I guess either Kieran or Black Belt's training would work, but my mind is buffering here a little bit because I had in mind that I was going to need to use one of those 2 damage modifiers, and that's not happening. But I do have a Calamitous Snowy Mountain in hand, and they have a stadium that I'd like to get rid of. So we eventually figure it out. Go ahead and buy a little bit more time with that stadium. We put our second energy onto Duraludon here to get a few damage counters. And then this goes ahead and allows us to put some damage counters on that N's Zoroark. So now we can go ahead and boss's orders Fezandipiti, and we're a little bit closer to N Zoroark for the future. So it was nice of them to put Fezandipiti down for us to take 2 prize cards here. And then even if they send 3 damage counters back our way with Zoroark, we should be able to reach it enough to knock it out with Black Belt's training, maybe our own Munkidori. So not too worried if we can just ping pong this 30 damage back and forth, as long as we're able to use one of these supporters here. We'll see if we get Iono'd here. I don't remember. They toss away their boss's orders. We'd also need a way to get back to another Archaludon. I see we have a Night Stretcher in hand, but for some reason, I'm thinking they're going to Iono us here because that seems like the right thing to do to move us down to 2 cards. Go ahead and put that Defiance Band on and a counter catcher since they're ahead in prize cards, and they just go for the Fezandipiti. So, interesting move for sure. Maybe they're mad that I took their Fezandipiti and they want to take ours in return. But they must have not had enough damage to be able to get that Archaludon knocked out, and they just thought, 2 prize cards, hope I can't do the 260 damage it takes to win. But little do they know, I have a Black Belt's training, which is proving to be very helpful in this deck to do just enough damage to take out several knockouts here. So a fun deck, takes a lot of thinking sometimes with Munkidori and Calamitous Snowy Mountain, but fun nonetheless. Give it a shot. You're still here? It's over. Go watch another video. Go.